Greenville, North Carolina.
Thank you so much for tuning in again to Awesome Radio 106.9 on your FM dial. My name is Akila, and boy, do we have a show for you on today. If you can remember last week, this time last week, we did Black History on Winterville. We want to do a part two of this. And so this week, we have a great audience panel with us on today. And so we'll have Councilwoman Veronica Robertson joining us in a moment, either by phone or by visual. We do have Mayor Ricky Hines, the first Black African mayor of Winterville, North Carolina, with us. We have Superintendent Austin B. Parker Sr. with us, giving us some history on Winterville and Pitt County. Sharice Boyd Jackson will be joining us as well. You can listen to us on our website 24 hours a day at wbisawesomeradio.org. That's wbisawesomeradio.org. We have mobile apps. We have all the tools you need to listen to Awesome Radio and to take us with you everywhere you go. We have the Google, we have the Apple, we have Alexa, we have the Roku, we have YouTube, we have Facebook. And you have us on the radio dial at 106.9 on your FM dial. We're licensed to Winterville, North Carolina. Hello again. And hello to our panel. Hello. How's everybody?
Hello.
All right. So we want to start with recognizing Ricky Hines, mayor of Winterville, for being the first African American mayor of Winterville, North Carolina. How does it feel, sir?
It's an honor. I'm still trying to get used to it. The word first. We have so many good citizens in the town of Winterville, and I appreciate everybody that voted for me to make me the first African American mayor. Miss Robertson has run. She ran a real good campaign before Miss Robertson. There was Mr. Henderson, and I don't know who else has run before, but I really appreciate the community in selecting me to be their first African American mayor.
Well, bless the Lord. And so you're not originally from Winterville, right?
No, ma'am. I'm originally from Bethel, North Carolina. Born and raised in Bethel. Attended North Pitt High School, and all my family is from the Bethel area. So I'm a product of north of the river, out that way, and I'm very proud to be from Bethel.
Okay. So how did you end up in Winterville?
Well, I wind up in Winterville. Me and my wife passed away in 2019. Her name was Beverly. We got married, and we was looking to build a house, and we kind of looked though in each area. We looked down in Bethel, but she's from the western part of the state, and she was like, "There ain't no hills around here." She was looking for basements and everything. I tell her, "No, not around here." So we winded up looking over here in Winterville, and we like Winterville, and we decided to make Winterville our home. We have two sons, Corey and Christian, and so we decided to make Winterville our home, and this is where we landed at, and I'm loving it.
Okay. And so you started out as a councilman first, correct?
Correct. I started out as on the city council with Winterville. My story was basically when Ron Cooper passed away, I knew it was a vacancy, and we was at church on Sunday. I never forget it. I belong to the corner of the Christian Center Church, and we were sitting there, and I told Bev, listen to our pastor's sermon, and it's something just resonated. Said I need to run for this seat, so I decided I was going to run for the seat, and I asked Bev, what did she think? And Bev has always been the type that I don't want you to be dealing with politics because of the boys and all that. But I've been working behind the scenes with politics since 1984 when I graduated high school. I've always helped candidates and everything behind the scene and whatnot, but I never run for an office. I sat on several boards, chaired several boards, but I never held an office. So I decided I would run. So I ran, and lo and behold, came down to one vote. The night of the actual election, I had lost by 5 votes. And the recount came, and they found out that I won by 1 vote. So then it was contested, and it wound up going all the way to the North Carolina Supreme Court. The judge came in on December the 29th to hear the case and found that everything was right. And I was awarded the council seat. I took office in January of 2018.
Okay, we have Councilwoman Veronica Robertson of Winterville. She's on the phone line joining us on today. Sharice, hello, how are you?
Just fine. How you doing?
We're doing great, Councilwoman Robertson, and Sharice is on the line with us now. She also joined us. So, Councilwoman, tell us your experience about Winterville, North Carolina, and how long have you been a councilwoman, and are you a native of Winterville? And 2, you want to talk to us about the naming streets or the street names of Winterville.
Greet us first. Yeah.
Okay. I'm Councilwoman Veronica Robertson. I was elected in 2007. I've been serving. I got the opportunity to spend 1 year as Mayor Pro Tem on our board. I also serve on several boards as the Winterville representative, the library board, and I got to serve as a short term on our sewer board. And I also am first vice chair of Mideast Commission out of Williamson. I've lived in Winterville for 69 years, or pretty much close to Winterville for a few years. But I've seen our community grow into what it is now. It's changed a lot from what I knew as a child. And I called in last week because we were talking about the streets. And I've always been astonished that we have more street names after Black families than most any other community I know of. And just rattling off a few: Chapman, Grimes, Mio, Boyd, Person, Worthington, Jones, Gardner, Ola, Pearl, Walter, Kennedy, May, Hammond, Myrtle, Knox, Carmen, Blunt, and Mitchell Lane. And I hope I didn't miss any. But those were the ones that I could remember. I sat here the other night and wrote and just tried to remember the names of them. And as I was doing that, I was thinking about those different families in Winterville that these streets were named after,
Right.
and everything, because we do have a good presence here in Winterville.
Now, is this because these are the natives of Winterville, and it's a part of the Black history?
Yes, most
Good.
of these families.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I am so glad to hear those names rattling off, Councilwoman Veronica Robertson. What you are doing is you are echoing the individuals of Black history. They are definitely a part of our Black history, which is what we're titled on today, Black History Month, and giving a little bit of insight and history on Winterville, North Carolina. So I'm glad that you echoed off those family names, and we are definitely proud that they have been pinnacles in our community.
So, Superintendent Austin B. Parker, thank you so much for joining us as well. You and Councilwoman Veronica Robertson, I'm sure you're going to piggyback off of each other as you give us history and background of Pitt County and Winterville. So, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, and to your guests, your distinguished guests, I've enjoyed what they have said, and I certainly thank God for you, and also Councilwoman Veronica Robinson. Thank God for her, and as she began to name the names of the families in Winterville, it was when she named Hamilton Street, Commissioner Dave Hamilton, who was Pitt County Commissioner, The street was named after his father, who was Reverend Hammond, and his brother Ken Hammond, who pastored in Durham for a while, and over at ECU he was working for a while. And thank God for the Hamilton name there. And then she named May Street, and I believe she is referring to one of the great principals of our time, renowned W.H. May,
Yes.
who was the principal of what is now W.H. Robinson, which W.H. Robinson at one time was an all-black school from first grade to 12th grade, and many very industrial students graduated from Winterville. Mrs. Carrie Best was, she's deceased now, but she was a first grade teacher there. And there were so many, Miss Patrick there that comes down on Board Street. And there are just so many fond memories. When Mayor Hines was talking a few minutes ago, and he was sitting in church and decided to run for city councilman after Ron Cooper died. Well, Ron Cooper was a former chief of police in Farmville, North Carolina. And then when he left there, he got in security. I believe it was at Burroughs Wellcome, but he's also served on the city council. Now, you talk about Pitt County then, Pitt County now, has made a 360-degree turn. For the first time in the history of Pitt County, you have your first black sheriff in Paula Dam.
Yes.
For the first time in the history of Pitt County, you have your first DA, Ferris Dixon. And we all got to remember how Ferris Dixon finally became our first black DA, district attorney of Pitt County. He was fired because of some off the wall, basically because he was running against one of the judges who eventually got it. I won't call the judge's name because he's still in Pitt County, but it was a sham job. But what's for you is for you. Now you have the first black DA, Ferris Dixon, your first black sheriff, and one of the few in all of the United States of America, but we have one right here in Pitt County. And then you have your first black district judge, Wendy Hazelton. So Pitt County is well represented. Now that does not count all the commissioners. It does not count all the not only commissioners, but the councilmen. It does not even give an account of that. And your first two black city councilmen in Greenville in the early 70s was Reverend Clarence Gray and Reverend John Teller.
Yes.
Reverend Clarence Gray was a 8th grade teacher at CM Epps, and John Teller was teaching in Pitt County at the time. And they both lived in Greenfield Terrace. And they were your two first black councilmen in Greenville. So, you know, we've come from a long ways. Now, Mayor Hines, you know, my hat's off to you, and Councilwoman Veronica. Followed it in the press, how you all came together and was able to mend anything there, because whatever happened, one vote different, but it's good to see how people can come together for the better good. You all was able to come together for the better good of that beautiful place called Winterville, North Carolina. And Winterville has a great history. I don't know how much you all know about it, but you take Fire Tower Road now, which is one of the busiest roads in Pitt County. And my God, you don't want to get involved in Fire Tower Road 4:30, 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. But going back to Fire Tower Road, it used to be a dirt road, didn't have but one business on the road, and that was Sunnyside Egg. That was it. Corey Road was a dirt road, route to Winnerville, Troy McLawhorn had a body shop, a garage out there, Route 2, Box 32, Route 2, Box 30. And that was it, dirt road. Where Lowe's is now, Thomas Langston Road. Most of that land out there was owned by a banker in Winterville who had a bank right on the corner there, Railroad Street, which that bank now has been named First Citizen. But Don Langston had that bank. He was the president, and it was the Bank of Winterville. Unique thing about it, it was open on Saturday at about 12 or 1 o'clock. And people that worked during the week and didn't have time to make the bank by 5 or 6 o'clock on Friday evening, but go to that bank on Saturday mornings. And Don was doing business and cashing checks and everything. And Thomas Langston Road, where all the developments is coming up now, where Wachovia built that big center. It's no longer Wachovia, but it's online now. But that was Wachovia Bank. That's where they did their auto loans at. Well, that was all dirt road. And it's named Thomas Langston Road and all. But that was a dirt road. And you didn't want to go down those roads the rainy days because it was
You get stuck. You would get stuck in the mud. Would you get stuck, Superintendent Parker?
You would if you didn't stay right in the middle. You would get stuck.
Well, listen, Superintendent Parker, I'm going to pause you for a minute. We're definitely going to hear from you again. We want to kind of shuffle all of us around a little bit.
Okay.
Someone that was one of our listeners that was tuned in last week had some information that they wanted us to bring over this week. And it was regarding your question, Akila. It was regarding the question that you made about slavery. So just to give some insight on that, we want to remind all of our lovely listeners that slavery has definitely been a part of North Carolina's history. And since we are talking about Black history, slavery was abolished in the 1800s, right? So the individuals that would have been able to tell us about slavery, like as for me, would have been my great-grandmother's children, because my grandmother, her name was Maddie Jenkins Whitehurst. She was born in 1908. Now, my grandmother was born in 1908, Maddie Whitehurst. And slavery was written 45 years prior to her birth. So calculate that. If my grandmother was born in 1908, thank God for her, she lived to be 100. 45 years prior to her birth, that's when slavery was abolished. So it would have to be an individual able to tell us what their ancestors told them about slavery in Winterville. So I just wanted to give some insight on that when you had asked Mr. J.B. Hill about it. And I'm going to pause. Yes, Councilwoman.
This is Veronica Robertson. If you go down to we call it down the railroad, of course, the graveyard there on Fire Tower, right by Sunnyside, what used to be Sunnyside Eggs. You could go, if you were to go down there and look at some of those headstones, there are headstones down there that the people were born before slavery. My great-grandfather is Isom Richardson, and he was born in 1847. His headstone is down there, and I know about it because, of course, I've been down there. His headstone's down there, my grandfather's headstone down there, and, of course, my mother and my father are down there. My mother was born 1913, and my father, too. So those things right there, I really would like to see that designated as a historical site here in North Carolina to preserve it. We know about all the development on Fire Tower, and I like to see us designate that, and that would save that part of history for my great-grandchildren and my grandchildren there.
That is so wonderful to hear. That appears to already be an unofficial historical site. So my hope and trust is that we can work to get that to be an historical site. Councilman Veronica Robertson, can you echo that actual location one more time, just for those that will be listening and are listening, so we can jot it down?
Yeah. My mother used to refer to it as going down the railroad, because you could walk the railroad track and be there. On Fire Tower, right before you, if you're coming down Fire Tower from Winterville, right before you get to the railroad. The graveyard is over there. There is a marker there with the name on it, and I just refer to it as North Winnerville Graveyard because it's in North Winterville. But it's right there, and so many people have driven by there and never even looked there. But it's right there before you cross the railroad, coming from Highway 11.
I'm going to certainly look for it.
Upside down. As soon as you cross the railroad, it's on your right.
So it's right there beside
Right there
Sunnyside.
on the road, but people just never look at it very much.
What did you say, Mayor Hines?
I was saying, is it right there near Sunnyside?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
right
there.
there before you get to Sunnyside Edge.
Sunnyside Eggs. Yeah. Right there, almost diagonally across from the Dollar General. If the landmark you'll be looking for, the Dollar General is, and if you come in from Sam's Club, it'll be on your left-hand side. And if you're coming from Evans Street and you cross the tracks, it'll be on the right-hand side.
Okay, well,
there's a good landmark there.
Just before we turn it back over to the guest and certainly to Akila, I just wanted to ask very brief question. Do we still have individuals that work with us in the town of Winterville as aldermen? Do we still have aldermen, Mayor Hines?
No.
Okay. Now
we're all council now, council people, councilwomen, councilmen.
And when did that change over from aldermen to council individuals around?
Miss Robertson may be able to answer that better. I'm not quite sure on that, but Miss Robertson may be able to answer that a little bit better than I can.
Well, I know it was in the last 12 years we changed the terminology because so many people were having trouble identifying what an alderman or alderwoman did. It was after the death of Velma Hopper.
And that's exactly who I was going to speak of. So you are right in one accord, Councilman Veronica. And the reason why I wanted to speak about Alderman Velma L. Harper, she actually, I'm honored to say, she was my second cousin. Wow. And I have wanted to just share a little history. Since we are conducting Black history, I wanted to conduct a little history about Ms. Velma Lee Harper. She went home to be with the Lord at the age of 59 back in 2008. Everyone knows that she was a native of Winterville, North Carolina. She was a native here where she attended and worked in the public schools. She was a faithful member, which is something we're going to get into, which is the original churches of Winterville. She attended St. Rest Church. She was a diligent financial secretary. Many individuals who are natives and who have been in Winterville for a good portion of time are familiar with her and her works. And I'm honored to have known her personally as my cousin. And she was definitely someone who stood tall in the town of Winterville. So thank you, Councilman Veronica, for bringing her name up because she is definitely in my notes. And thank you, Mayor Hines, for educating me, letting me know that the terminology is not aldermen anymore, but councilmen and women. Thank you.
We're going to take a live station break right now. You're listening to Awesome Radio right here on your radio dial at 106.9. We are on all of our streaming platforms, social medias right now, Facebook, Roku. We're on the YouTube page, Awesome Radio, and GPAC Channel 23 on Southern Link Cable. We're streaming live right now. You can also go to our website at wbisawesomeradio.org. If you miss any part of this show and you're just joining us, it will be right there for your listening pleasure, your listening viewing. We're talking about Special Black History report talking about Winterville and Pitt County. I'm going to read some comments from our social media. So Mr. Marion Barnes said, good information, talking about Councilwoman Veronica. Good information. Didn't know that many streets were named after African Americans in Winterville. We have another comment from Vernon Garrison. It says, absolutely awesome show. I've been waiting a long time for this type of show. Let him talk, let him talk, let him talk. Was talking about Superintendent Austin B. Parker, talking about you. Sometimes when you're preaching, you said, let it play, let it play. I'm here now. All right. And then another comment from Mr. Garrison said that he's lived on lived in Greystone for many years ago on Fire Tower. And also so proud of the mayor and councilwoman. Awesome for that. And to your point, councilwoman, about the headstones where your family is, he says that he hopes the mayor can get that done.
Yes.
So we have another comment and says, what is that? The Madam Councilwoman is awesome. I absolutely adore her work and professionalism. She changed my perspective on Winterville. So kudos to you, Councilwoman Veronica Councilwoman Veronica Robertson on that. Again, you're listening to Awesome Radio. You can download our mobile apps, the Google, the Apple, and the Alexa. If you have an Alexa store skill, then you can say, Alexa, play Awesome Radio Winterville, NC. And for those of you who did not know, now you will know that Awesome Radio is licensed to Winterville. Not
Yes,
Greenville.
we are.
Our
Yes, we are. Let's pause for that.
Greenville, but we are licensed to Winterville.
Yeah.
And also, since we're talking about Black history, I am the first African American Black female woman to own a broadcast station in Pitt County.
Woo! Let's put our hands together for that.
If my research serves me correctly, I am the third Black female woman 100% to own a broadcast station in the United States of America.
You are the third. I did my homework and I have it written down, Akila, and I was ready to present that, but you beat me to the punch. Akila Thigpen is the third Black-owned woman in the United States of America to own her own radio station. I had it written down, but she beat me to the punch.
Kathy Hughes was the first. Kathy Hughes. Muta Evans, she's from Williamston. Muta Evans is the second, and Akila Thigpen is the third.
All right.
And I just wanted to point out, we are live. You guys can call in 252-756-2008. Call in. Share with us your comments, your questions, and your compliment. We are Black History.
I would be remiss to say this. I thank God for every step of the way because He led my steps and is leading me right now.
Amen.
Amen.
All right. So Heather Marie Demery says, wow, wow, wow. Yes. And then another comment says, amen. Awesome Radio is the bomb. She is nationwide a queen. All right. So we do have an incoming call right now. So you're live on the air, Awesome Radio.
Hi, my name is Heather Denny. I wanted to call in today. I'm a resident on Boyd Street. My family runs deep in this area. My family comes by the last name of Dawsons and Bonners. And then I married into the Boyd family and the Moy family and the Mobley family. So on both sides, we get it. It is so interesting and exciting to hear everything you guys are talking about. I know Cherise Boyd. She's actually related to my husband. We just found that out. So hearing and learning all of this is exciting. Congratulations to you being the third owner. That's so amazing. And it's great to hear this. I can't wait to show my kids so that they can see just how deep it runs.
To God be the glory. Thank you.
Thank you,
Councilwoman Robertson. If I'm not mistaken, I kept my history of Winnerville. Dawson was one of the men that were headed out west who sold the land to A.J. Cox. Am I correct?
That, Superintendent Parker, would you have that answer, sir?
Repeat the question.
My history, but it was a Dawson, and I know the other man was a Mills, but they were African Americans headed out west who sold land to A.G. Cox.
Yeah, that is correct.
Right now on the laptop.
Yes.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. According to the history, Dawson, I think Dawson and Mills sold 75 acres to
Okay.
A.G. Cox,
Oh,
and they was moving to, I think, New Orleans,
right.
and they sold the land to Mr. Cox.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
some
just wanted to just mention some of the other elected officials in Winterville. We did have, we talked about our alderwoman, because at the time she was an alderwoman, Velma Hopper, who served, who finished the term of a alderman who died. But of course, we had Mr. Calvin Henderson, who has done a lot in our community and in Pitt County. He served as an elected official in Winterville. William Worthington, Willie Jones, William Clark, William Albert. All of these people served good terms on our board, and they were responsible for lots of advances in our community around here. And one other point, then I'm going to let somebody else talk some. When I was growing up, I never realized just how high a percentage of Black home ownership we had in Winterville. But when I grew up, in our section of town, all of us owned our houses.
That's right.
We didn't have, if it was a rental house, it was owned by someone in the community. Reverend Hort Hammond owned property. Ola Gardner owned property. My father even had 2 shotgun houses that he rented out. So the people were renting from other Blacks in the community. And they own large pieces of land, like across from W.H. Robinson School, the house that's on the corner. That whole piece of land was owned by the Person family, the
Yes.
Evans family. There were so many families that owned a lot of land here.
Yes, Councilman Robertson.
And also
You're right.
owned houses and owned their own houses. So I
You
wanted
are exactly right.
that point.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a very distinctive characteristic of the community I grew up in.
True.
So we
Yeah.
still have the caller on the line. Caller, do you have any more comments you would like to make?
I don't at this time, but thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much for calling in, and God bless you. Okay. And keep on listening to Awesome Radio.
Superintendent Parker, we would love to hear from you. You are a wealth of wisdom when it comes to the history of Winterville, North Carolina.
Now,
Do share.
Superintendent, I remember you telling us last week off the air that about borrowing from the owner, and if you couldn't pay back, they took your land. Yes,
and I would touch that, but 2 things. One was from Ms. Boyd. Velma Hopper was amazing.
Amazing.
She worked at W.H. Robertson. Always was a person that lit up the atmosphere where she was. And we certainly thank God for her. And then the Mills and the Dawson that sold the land to A.G. Cox, some of their family members, offspring, were settled and still own land around the Haddock Crossroad community. Alonzo Mill and all of them. Now, getting back to your question that you asked, if you notice at the turn of the century, over 1 million Black people own land.
Yes.
Most was farmers. Well, there was not many banks during that time, so the country store tend to be the licensed lender, and farmers put up their farm as collateral. And when they could not meet the deadline or the note by the end of the year, or if they had a bad crop, if you talk to most farmers, the fall of the year was the time that they had cash in hand. Both of my grandfathers was farmers when they had cash in hand, tobacco, corn, beans. Well, sometimes they had a bad year. And if they had a bad year, they fell at the mercy of the person that they borrowed money from. Now, in Winnerville, and documents will prove this, courthouse records will prove this, Mrs. Ainge, A.W. Ainge, She loaned a lot of farmers money or collateral, and then some was not able to come up with the money. And once you did that, then that was it, because it was the country store. If you remember, for those that's old enough, there was a country store at every crossroad, or near every crossroad. There was a country store, grocery store, whatever. And that's where people bought on credit. That's where people borrowed money from. And then that's where so many of our farms, black farms, was lost because they couldn't pay money back. And during the Great Depression, that's when they really lost a lot.
So Superintendent Parker, if individuals had farms and they grew vegetables, collards, cucumbers, were they able to trade that to get like wheat, flour, and edible foods or anything of that nature?
Many was able to trade. Many did trade. And they had things that set up like a trading post. Well, I'll trade some wheat for some eggs. And many farmers raised their own food, and many farmers helped others. But you got to understand something. Coming out of slavery, as you alluded to a few minutes ago,
yes, sir.
It was a well sought out plan economically. We was affected economically. And if you go back and look, even after people was freed from slaves, what did many of them do? Go back to their slave masters.
Right.
And Lincoln got it right.
But?
And he was assassinated. But in between that, William Thompson Sherman wanted to blot out so many millions acres of land that blacks would have to stay out of poverty.
That's
but
right.
When Lincoln was assassinated and the crook Hayes got to be president and withdrew the Union soldiers from the South, Mr. Jim Crow went right back to doing what he was doing, and it was worse than what it was before. Let me tell you this brief story about my grandfather, Major Best, who's his father, Luke Best, that was born 1851, bought our family farm 1852, and all this is recorded down at Pitt County Courthouse. And
yes,
when
sir.
he died, my great-grandfather died, who was born a slave, 1851. Then his father, my grandfather, 2 weeks later, started buying out his brothers and sisters. But my great-grandfather, born 1851, Luke Best, his wife, born 1858, Diane Best, the only way that he could prosper and keep his farm during the crop season, to keep from being burnt out, he had to have my grandfather brothers, they slept in the field, they slept outside to protect their property.
Yes.
He even told the clan they was described as night riders. He told them at Ballard's Crossroad, because Ballard's Crossroad had 4 stores, had a store on each corner. And he told them, said, you all may burn me out, but you will never run me out. You will bury me on it. You had to fight for what you had.
Woo. This is good stuff to me.
Here's
Mayor Hines, I love it.
Here's a comment from Mother Harazine Hedgebeth Keys. She is the mother of Evangelist Ryan Keys, who's an awesome radio family member with the Harvest Crusade Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5. She writes, I know Superintendent Parker is a walking Bible, but will now add historian of Winterville, Pitt County. And thanks, Sister Akila, for this session. All right. Thank you, Mother Harazine Hedgebeth Keys, for that comment.
This has been so powerful. Councilwoman Veronica, Mayor Hines, you guys are just, we are Black history. We are in the thick of it, and I'm loving it. I would love to hear from any one of you next.
Let me add one thing in. Can I add this one thing in this? I'm going to make it quick. One name we left out of all the names, and I know we can't name all the names, but one man that was very instrumental in the prosperity of Winnerville, and in always you have to have someone that's not afraid to stand and will stand, and can talk and stand. And Lee Ernest Grimes
Yes.
was a very important man
Yes,
in
sir.
the town of Winterville, whose house sits, he just passed recently, but whose house sits at the corner, I believe, is Board and Highway 11. He
Correct.
was a strong, instrumental man and was a man that was not afraid to speak for other people, not just himself, but for other people.
And I affectionately called him Uncle Dick, even though he was my cousin. Thank you for making mention of him, Superintendent Parker. I know Mayor Hines was about to speak. Yes, Mayor. Yes, sir.
Yes, I was going to speak on, of course, Bronzewell Patrick, a native of Winterville. And I've been speaking with Bronzewell and, talking with him to come to find out, of course, first African-American professional athlete to come out of Winterville that I know of. So
That's right.
I asked to do a proclamation since it's Black History Month. We're going to be doing a proclamation for him on Monday night in his honor to recognize him as being a professional athlete and being one of the first. I look at myself saying, I'm the first Black mayor, but I looked at him. I've been knowing Bronzewell a long time, and I didn't realize this honor wasn't bestowed upon him. So I want to make sure that we get it right. We have history right here at home, and we need to get it right.
Yes.
And so we will be doing a proclamation for him on Monday night in his honor.
That is so wonderful to hear. Yes, Akila, that is so wonderful to hear. I'm actually going to be in attendance for that, Mayor Hines. So I'm meeting you now on the screen, but I will hopefully get to shake your hand on
Yes.
Monday. You spoke about him being the first, and he was the first from what I read also. I wanted to throw the name Derek Cox out there also. He is a famous former NFL football player.
That's right.
He went to J.H. Rose, and he had his first football experience in Winterville, North Carolina. So we want to shout out Derek Cox as well. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Jacksonville Jaguars, right?
Yes.
Yeah, who was Jacksonville Jaguars. Mm-hmm.
And what time is this service on Monday,
It's
Mayor?
the town
meeting starts at 7 at the Winnerville Town Hall.
Is the public invited, Mayor?
Yes, the public is invited, but it's also streamed. Of course, with COVID, it's kind of limited. So
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Councilwoman Veronica, thank you so much for that public invite. We appreciate that. Councilwoman Veronica Robertson, what are your future plans for Winterville?
Well, we want to keep our community as a hometown. We want to keep that thing going, the slice of the good life. And those are the kinds of things that we want to bring to Winterville and have as part of our community. And I just wanted to share, because I know time will be up. I did some brainstorming during the week about the history and everything as far as I've gone as far as I've been here, which is 69 years, which is not a short period of time. But when I grew up, there were several black businesses that I just, like I said, I brainstorm, and hopefully this will make someone else think of them. Nelson Trucking, which actually that family is part of the Mills family that sold land. Cradles Trucking, Cannon's TV Shop. We had, of course, Mitchell Funeral Home is the only funeral home that has ever been in Winterville. Sure. We had Helen's Beauty Nook. We had Queenie Jackson's Beauty Shop. We had Hook Store there on the highway. Of course, Hammond's had a store. Then, of course, Mr. Knox had a store on the corner there on Board and Railroad. Mr. Smith had a store on the corner. Mr. Miller, Darren Miller, used to have a store and used to cook barbecue. There was the Patrick Barbershop, Anderson Barbershop, and, of course, our own Calvin Henderson had a plumbing company here in Winterville. And we had carpenters, we had builders. We have a legacy of lots and lots of talented people that came from our community and that I've known in my lifetime. And I'd like to hear some more people call in and give some of the businesses that they knew or they experienced during this time.
252-756-2008 is that number to dial in. 252-756-2008. And if I'm not mistaken, Mayor Hines and Councilwoman Veronica, that Winterville has its own water tower, and I heard that there's like some minerals there.
Well, our water used to come from, nearly all of our water came from an artesian well, and it was good water. But due to limits put on us by the state, and our mayor can tell you about that, those state regulations, as far as how much water you can take from an aquifer, we've had to, and of course a booming population, so therefore we need more water. They put limits on how much we could get from that well, so now we do buy water from Winterville. But in years past, it was good water, and it is a spring that run under some of the houses in Winterville. That I remember people using pumps getting that water. So we have had a history of having real good water, but now it's like everybody else has got to put a little chlorine or whatever in it to make sure it's good. And of course, we're buying from Greenville, so that makes a difference.
Yes, we have had a recent water change in the town of Winterville. Mayor Hines, maybe you could give us some more insight on that briefly?
Well, she kind of hit it on the head. We do buy our water now, part of our water from the from GUC. Of course, our electric is bought from Kings Mountain, North Carolina. A lot of people don't know that, but we buy our electricity from Kings Mountain, North Carolina, and it comes down and then it's transferred over with GUC. GUC switches it over to Winterville, and so that's where our electric is how it's run, pretty much. You asked a question to Miss Robertson about what's on the horizon. We have a lot of good stuff that's on the horizon for the town of Winterville. We're looking at a lot of different projects. We're talking with a lot of different people. Since I became mayor, I think my phone has stopped ringing. People want to do business with the town of Winterville. So I look at it as a positive, but the main thing, we just got to make sure that we take care of our youth, we take care of our seniors, and as Ms. Robertson said, keep it a small town atmosphere. And that's what I think what we're going to do. If you go down and look at downtown Winterville now, of course, you're going to see a big change. We have now 2 breweries. We have Tiebreakers that's there. We have Main and Mills, the restaurant that's there.
Right.
Those are some of the things, but we got to keep striving to get more African American businesses to locate here in Winterville.
True.
As we have the households, we got the numbers as far as household numbers, but we just got to keep striving, and that's what we're going to do. And I think we got a real good council. Also, too, Mr. Johnny Moore is on the council, and along with Miss Robinson and myself, we held the majority of it until I became mayor. And so we're going to keep striving. We're going to keep pushing, but we need the citizens to inform us of things they want. You just can't sit back and talk among yourselves. You got to let us know. You got to reach out to us, and because we are your voice. But if you don't reach out to us, we don't know what you want.
That's true.
How can someone get in touch with you, Mayor?
Well, my number is posted everywhere, I think, because my phone never stopped ringing. But my number is 252-412-4121. That's the number they can reach me at, or they can reach me via email, which is ricky.hines@wintervillenc.com.
All right. Thank you.
That'll come right to me.
We have 1 minute left in today's show. Superintendent, very briefly, about 20 seconds, closing remarks.
I really have enjoyed, really have been enlightened, and thank God for you all's company, your conversation, and information.
All right. Councilwoman Veronica Robertson, 20 seconds remarks.
I do appreciate your sponsoring this program. It has been informative. I agree with Superintendent Parker with everything he said about that. I also want to thank him for the encouragement that I get every week or every day when I listen to him on your station.
To God be the glory. Sharice, closing remarks, 10 seconds.
Yes. The town of Winterville, we are coming up on our anniversary, Mayor Hines and Councilwoman.
Yes.
March 3rd. So we have an upcoming anniversary. And to close it out, Winterville, North Carolina is ranked the 4th most beautiful city in North Carolina.
That is our show on today. We thank you for your time. We'll see you the next time. God's will. God bless. We're Awesome Radio.
Thank you.
All right. Ooh. Thanks, Stevie. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right.
All right. So we are off the radio, but we're still on social media. If anybody wanted to say anything, have any closing remarks that you didn't have an opportunity to say while we were live on the radio.
Is Councilwoman Veronica Robertson still with us?
She is still with us. Yes.
Okay. I don't know if you got my email.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. She hung up. Nope.
Okay.
She hung up.
Well, I sent you an email. She wanted to extend this for next week. You can see the details. To Superintendent Austin Parker Sr., you know how I feel about you. I had the honor of meeting you close up and personal last week. You are a walking wealth of knowledge, and my sentiments have been echoed to you, just like the individual, Councilwoman Veronica. I love listening to you daily. I thank God for Awesome Radio. I thank God for Akilah Thigpen, who is Black History, along with Mayor Hines, Superintendent Parker, and all of you. Thank you for allowing me to humbly be a part. I'm Sharice Boyd Jackman.
Darlene Anderson said, love the show. Okay.
She's a cousin of mine.
Heather Denny says, absolutely, Mayor Hines, to whatever it was that he said. She said, absolutely. All right. All right. So we're going to wrap this thing up. Thank you so much, Superintendent.
Y'all be blessed. Reese Boyd, you be blessed. Pleasure talking to you.
Yes, sir.